It is suitable for general family viewing.
And welcome to yet another episode of The Grind. My name is Hibak Saeed. This week we're going to be focusing on the leather industry. There's a lot going on there, apparel, leather, there's so much that we need to delve into, but first, let's take a look at the market margins. Despite being the fifth largest cattle producer in Africa after Ethiopia, Chad, Sudan, and Tanzania, Kenya's value in leather trade remains low. This implies that most of the country's leather is never utilized, with little effort to exploit its potential through trade. The leather waste translates into a lost opportunity for employment creation, improved livelihood, and even tax revenue. The Institute of Economic Affairs report shows that Kenyans spent about 197.5 billion Kenyan shillings in 2019 on clothes and footwear. Put into context, every Kenyan spends around 4,150 Kenyan shillings a year for the purchase of second-hand garments, new clothes, or even footwear. The domestic consumption trends point to the great potential and opportunity for the hides and skin sector in Kenya. Globally, there is a growing demand for leather products. These opportunities point to the need to strengthen policies that support firms to transform hides and skins into leather products. Right after the complications and the numbers, you have the historical background. We look at our entrepreneur of the day, who is also going to be giving us insights on this particular sector. You can start by introducing yourself. What is your name? How exactly did you go into this business?
Well, my name is Jossiah. I started my creative journey through music and television and film. 30 years on, I have since progressed to not just building musicians and building films and building those kind of things, but I thought to myself, it's time to build a brand, use all of that expertise I know from audiovisual production and migrate it into creating a brand. So I don't come from industry, I come from production. And it's funny because it enables me then to do a lot of advertising, because now I understand how to package, how to create content, how to develop brands and stuff like that. So yeah, my background has enabled me to do that migration into an SME and a production company.
Right, Ted, I'm seeing a lot of your products have a lot of character, so that would make a lot of sense. A lot of the bags that you have, a lot of the products that you have stand on their own. What was the thought process behind this?
For me, before I went into music, I was a graphic designer and I studied package design. Package design is very much like creating a bag. And when you look at packaging, what you want is you want your front face to always look nice. The item you're creating must have a face. Imagine a human being without a face. That's what I tell people. A bag must have a face, it must have a character. If it doesn't have character, then it's just an item to put your products in. And you know, it doesn't speak to you. GOtv stands out differently because we love to dabble in color. We love to create fancy, different leather work using different patterns and making the bag stand out just in its uniqueness through either two-toning a bag, in other words, using different colors, you know, on the same bag, or you know, using different accessories to accentuate leather.
Ted, a lot of people would question this because the leather industry does have its own problems. So why leather?
Why leather? Leather is timeless. And my story starts from a situation where I wanted to create a timeless item, a legacy brand. And when I started thinking about why do I want to create a brand and what's the reasoning behind it and what's my thought process, it was I want to be able to leave a legacy that outlives me and the generations to come. And leather, again, one of the bags that I stumbled upon when I started this journey was my mom's bag from 1969 that she was gifted. And it still stands. It's somewhere here on the shop floor, actually. It still stands. It's still functional. It's made out of pure leather. Pure leather just never ages. It weathers well. And if you take care of it, then you can give it down from one generation to another generation, and it tells a story. So for me, the challenge was, okay, it's difficult to find leather, it's difficult to access leather, but let us figure out a way of accessing it and sourcing it and making sure that we can tell that timeless story.
From this particular setup, we can see that mostly we have bags, but I've also seen you've gone into apparel. Where did this shift come from?
We actually had started as a garment company. So we had started with jackets and t-shirts initially. But I wasn't 100% happy because we weren't sourcing everything locally. And we have since reintroduced the jackets. They're made out of pure leather. Every single item is made out of pure leather, and it's African leather. I want to be able to use African raw material and African hides to enable us to create jobs end to end. So for me, it's not just about building the brand. It's also about how much impact does the brand have on the social sphere. So is the farmer benefiting from my action? Is the tanner benefiting from my action? Are the people employed in the tannery, and tanneries employ hundreds of people, are they benefiting from my action? Is the designer benefiting from my action? The stitchers, the cutters, the assemblers, everyone down to the riders, how do they benefit from my one single action of, okay, I'm going to use this material as opposed to this?
Now, there was a conversation on social media that caught my attention. A lot of people were debating on whether we have luxury items within the country, and Jossiah came up. Do you identify, does Jossiah identify as a luxury item? What makes a luxury item?
What makes a luxury item? That's interesting. It's the detail. People think it's the price. It's not the price, it's the detail. I tell people, and I tell the people who work with me, that the devil is in the detail. When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items. When things are hand done, hand sewn, somebody's painstakingly not using a machine to do it, but using their hands and cutting things in a very bespoke way, then you create luxury. For us, that is Jossiah, and Jossiah is African luxury.
You have a number of products, I've
Yes, we
seen.
do.
If you could just maybe take us through the number of products, why exactly did you choose these products? How is the market, talking about these products, or how are they taking it up?
We've got over 70 bags, different types of bags. And if you go to jossiah.com, you can see the whole catalog. The market embraced us initially by default because people thought that here's a crazy man trying to dabble in women's bags, despite the fact that he's a man, and he's also raising a child, despite the fact that he's a man, and so let us watch him fail, I think that was okay, oops, is he going to fail now? And we moved from stride to stride, just growing, selling a bag a month, and then selling 2 bags a month, and the numbers sometimes dipping to 0 bags. And the growth of an SME obviously is going to have twists and turns, curves and difficult points, but we managed to weather the storm. We have been now in existence about 4 years, fully fledged as a brand. This is all I do, 8 to 5 is I sell bags and I enjoy doing it. I enjoy creating the bags. I enjoy designing the bags and making sure that we're marketing the bags as well as we can. Yeah, that's a bit about it.
All right, 3 to 5 years, that's actually a very long time. Knowing what you know right now, where do you see the future of your business?
Jossiah should be a legacy brand. So I am trying to put it in the trajectory where 200-300 years from now, the brand will have grown outside of the continent and created a global footprint that makes Africa proud, not of a raw material, but of a finished product. We have a lot of raw materials, but we hardly ever value add. We always just sell the raw material as in its raw form and get, you know, pennies for what it really is valued at.
Now, you've mentioned something interesting, and I'll just maybe take you back a little bit. You've said, of course, you wanted to go global. One would ask, how is the performance locally right now and internationally?
A prophet is never welcome in his own hometown. That's what people say. And I really hate that phrase because it's untrue. It's untrue in that is a cop-out of you have refused to be embraced at home. You need to be embraced at home. There's always a market for you at home. You just need to figure out who your target audience is. Now, Jossiah, like every other brand globally, is not for everyone. You know, different people like different brands of cars. It's the same way that different people like different brands of bags. For us, as creating a luxury brand, the challenge was, are we going to be embraced in Africa before we get embraced in the West? And most people will create a brand, and the first thing we'll want to do is, okay, so I've created this brand, I want to make sure that I sell it to all the white people abroad because they have all the money and disposable income and stuff. And I thought to myself, Africans are missing the point. The people who are creating brands right now are missing the point. There is what I call the black market. Right. And when I use the words, again, oxymoron, black market, people think to themselves, what is he talking about? He must be talking about something illegal. It's not illegal. How many black people are there globally? If you Google that, you won't find it because it's hidden. Why is it hidden? Good things are always hidden. Now there's almost 2 billion black people. If you take 1% of 2 billion, and 1%, let's say you're making biro pens, and that 1% buys a biro pen from you, how much money have you made?
Right. So
you've become a billionaire. Yes, overnight. So I said to myself, no, I am going to target people who believe in the African dream, who believe in the African Renaissance. You know, we say, Tina, this is New Africa, but we've seen the music industry take over the globe with West African music, with South African music.
Right.
We've seen the fashion industry begin to take over the globe with a lot of international fashion houses embracing African models and embracing African patterns to sell luxury products. Why can we not see African brands, African fashion brands, African SMEs begin to follow suit and do the same thing?
Right. So there's already a forged path. And as we talk about forged paths, we go for a very short break. When we come back, we'll have our business capital, and then we'll have Ted tell us a little bit more about the leather industry. Don't go too far.
Kila kiongozi ana hadithi yake ya kipekee.
Wazazi wangu walikuwa bit strict kwa sababu mamangu mwenyewe, mimi kutoka kuzaliwa sijailala nje.
The white small one, huyo ana sniff gunpowder na risasi na bomb. Alafu huyo mwingine ni ridgeback ana sniff simba.
Even the employees knows that. So when in the boardroom is the chairman, the CEO, and the rest of.
At what point are you a wife?
The minute you get to that inside that door, you become now the wife.
Na kila maamuzi wanayoyafanya hufichua mengi kuhusu utu wao na uongozi wao.
We see God blessing us, and we now realize the power of giving also has to be rewarded back.
Kupitia kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi, tunakuletea mahojiano ya kusisimua na uchambuzi wa kina kuhusu viongozi wetu.
Leather industry, we're going to be going to business capital, and when we come back from that, we still have Ted. Kenya's leather exports consists of semi-processed, tanned, wet blue leather at 90%, raw hides and skins at 5%, finished leather at 2%, and 3% leather footwear. Leather footwear is the biggest leather goods subsector in Kenya, while handbags are the most competitive. Kenya can build on its comparative advantage on quality handbags, travel wear and cases by improving the quality of its products, building the Made in Kenya brand distinction, and helping create customized products. Smuggling of raw hides and skins has continued regardless of policies to discourage the export of raw hides and skins by imposing an 80% export tariff on raw hides and skins in 2009. Despite the imposition of the tariff barrier, there has been a high level of smuggling of exports of raw hides and even skins. So how viable is this sector for grinders? The leather industry is worth over 50 billion Kenyan shillings yearly, while global trade value is estimated at approximately $100 billion per year. What does this mean? This remains a highly profitable sector that has untapped market. You can engage in this sector further by creating a bespoke brand to take advantage of the wide array of raw materials in the country. All right, from the business capital, Ted, we're going to be taking you as an expert now for this particular section of the grind. We need to know how the leather industry is doing. Of course, you've been here about 5 years, say, you know, give or take. If you could just tell us, how was it when you were starting? How is it now?
We have been embraced through the years through stroke of luck and also persistence. Persistence pays. You have to keep on doing the same thing. They say that if you do the same thing over and over with no results, then it is akin to madness. But I believe that repetition equals success. Right. So keep on doing the same thing. Even if people think you're mad, at some point it's going to pay off. When we started off, I will not say that it was a walk in the park. I started off with the little savings that I had had and an idea of making a travel bag, so that I can do a travel show with the travel bag. And when I went out to different manufacturers and asked them if they could, you know, make me a bag, everybody said no. And I thought to myself, okay, well, let me figure out how it's done and I'll make it myself. That's how GOtv started. So we started with a safari bag at 37,000 shillings, which was madness, because when you start with a very expensive bag, everybody thinks to themselves, ooh.
They associate your brand.
I'm not going to be able to afford that. And again, it was a stroke of luck in that people saw the price and assumed that is a luxury brand. And then as soon as they assumed it was a luxury brand, I then jumped in on the fact that, oh, because you want a luxury brand, I will then develop this into a luxury brand. And then we had ladies' bags that were priced much lower, and we started developing an array of bags based on customer feedback. So when I started out really using the first couple of years as R&D, research and development. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was hoping that God was going to figure out where this journey is going and bless me through the journey. But people started believing in the dream of, look, we can create jobs if we buy these bags. And I realized that people then started realizing that there's a lot of opportunities within SMEs if we support SMEs. So we started getting a lot more support and traction. And 2022, 2023 then became the years that doors really started to open for us, and they are still continually opening for us as we go. And the international market started to embrace us a lot more. When I say international market again, it's a lot of people of African origin realize that, hey, there's this great brand coming out of Africa, and I would like a slice of Africa. I've never been to the motherland, but if I have this, then I feel like I I own a piece of the motherland and I feel connected. And then it started opening up into, okay, well, this looks like a luxurious brand that has legitimacy coming out of Africa. And what people do not like is the brands that are made in the Far East get slapped on an African logo and then exported elsewhere. People were just like, please do not sell yourself out. Make sure that you create an African footprint that enables the African to have a job. That is, yes, that is vitally important. And that has remained part of our ethos and our narrative right through, to make sure that every action equals a job. Because in those jobs, then you create blessings, and within those blessings, then you are reversely blessed.
Let's talk about research and development. You have said that you put a lot of work into that, and of course policies are different in different sectors. Say an entrepreneur who's watching this right now wants to go into this particular business. What would you say are some of the policies that would either enable them or maybe give them a little bit of trouble?
That's a difficult question to answer in all honesty, and I want to keep it real. The leather sector was blessed in that the government of Kenya saw the value of leaving some of the hides in Kenya and not exporting everything carte blanche, and enabling Kenyan bag makers and belt makers and sandal makers and those kind of people to then have jobs and create vocation for themselves. And that was a policy of Vision 2030 that opened up doors for people. Now, how did we benefit from that? I walked into a tannery and found that they had bag leather ready and I could purchase it. That doesn't mean that we got it for free. You still have to buy it and you still have to figure it out. It would be great if, and I always say this, if African governments, and this is not just the Kenyan government, if African governments saw the value in creating not SMEs, but brands, there's a difference. A brand can then go into retail. Brands grow from just a bag to various different commodities, and then commodities create revenue, not just for the brand itself, but they can create foreign exchange, because when a brand then is enabled to have a global footprint through government initiatives, then that brand is bringing back dollars as opposed to sending dollars out to buy commodity. And the more dollars we have in, or shall I say, the more currency that we have coming in and staying here to build the continent, the better.
Right. Let's talk about the value chain.
Yes.
You've mentioned a couple of players. You have said that you, of course, personally want to enable all those people. Say an entrepreneur also wants to go into this particular venture. There are very many players that they should be roping in. What are some of the players?
There is, on government front, I think policy needs to be created for livestock, better livestock, because some of the challenges we have is some of the hides cannot be used because of tick marks, because of, excuse me, the farmers and ranchers are not being trained on how to take care of the hide and how much value the hide has over and above the meat itself. So if we had policy that then enabled us to develop cleaner hides, more hides, well-treated hides, then the value of the leather goes up. And that again is down to policy, and legislators are the ones who create policy. But the other players are the tanneries, and tanneries do complain once in a while because getting the hides, the raw hides, can be a slight challenge. And I say can be a slight challenge in that we do have a new player that's come in, and the hides are being used as consumable product. So people actually eat hide. Now, when they're eating hide, they don't care whether it had tick marks or what. They're going to cook it and make it into whatever it is. Competing with a sector like that when it becomes a food commodity, then becomes a challenge. Because am I going to sell you this for bag leather, or am I going to just offload it, all of it, for food?
Right. And finally, as we start to conclude this particular conversation, this sector has a lot of potential. The government has been working on ensuring that, there are better policies. They are trying to find markets in the, global scope. Where do you see it going, and how best can the government help the players in this sector?
It is important that government helps players based on merit. And when you see brands, you can see the merit in the brands, because brands speak for themselves. You can see the brand, you can do a brand analysis, and you will see that this brand, if we push it, is going to, catch wings. This one, despite the fact that my sister is running it, if I push it, it might not catch wings because it's unknown, and it doesn't have the bells and whistles required. I've seen traditionally that a lot of nepotism has occurred within a lot of sectors that could have blossomed into massive multinational companies. But because then the nepotism occurred and the person didn't really know what they were doing, and they got this great opportunity, they fall flat-faced, they fall on their face and don't deliver, not knowing that that opportunity was bigger than an individual. That opportunity was meant to build the nation and build a lot of people. So your blessing and your lack of using your blessing then has now caused a lot of knock-on effect.
All right. That's quite the parting shot now that we're already concluding this particular show. Opportunities should be given to those who deserve it the most. But do you deserve it the most? Are you putting in the work? Are you planning around it? Are you trying to find a sector that works for you and that works for the intended customer? Thank you so much for watching The Grind. Do interact with us on our socials. Of course, that will be running at the bottom of the screen. Thank you so much for being a part of The Grind. Have yourselves a very lovely night. My name is Hibak Said.
We